Okay, fam, today we are swimming in the deep end of the pool. So, Romans 5 through 8 is what I read this morning. And in these chapters, Paul lays out the struggle that believers have with sin and with our flesh, but the victory that we have through Jesus's through Jesus's sacrifice and the Holy Spirit. So let me try to lay this out. Um, kind of like kind of like the Cliff Notes. If you know what Cliff Notes are, there's like a big novel or a big book, and you're supposed to read through it all. Well, they have Cliff Notes, and it's a smaller little paperback book that just gives you the highlights of it. So here's, I guess, how I would summarize these chapters, Romans 5 through 8, that um, we have been um, given the same, the Holy Spirit who raised Jesus from the dead is who empowers us to live holy lives. It's Romans 8:11. Because of that, we are no longer slaves to sin, but slaves to righteousness. Romans 6, I think. Um, and the result of that is that we have peace with God. Romans 5. So I did it backwards, but that's the way that these chapters build the case, because we all struggle with sin, um, and um, and Paul's argument is that, look, you were a slave to sin, but now you are a slave to righteousness. Um, and so, what is a slave? A slave is somebody that is given in the biblical times. When we think of slavery now, it has a lot of content in it because of the transatlantic slave trade. Well, this was written way before that, obviously, and back then there were people that had slaves, like we think of it, that were treated poorly and all of that. Obviously, we but there was also slavery was mostly um, kind of indentured servitude, or even just an employee employer relationship where I would go work for you for a number of years, and that's our agreement. And while I did that, I'm your slave. I'm working for you. But then when our agreement is done, then my term is over, and then I have the benefit of whatever we agreed on. I get your cow or something. I don't know. So, so the idea then there, in part, is that when you're a slave, somebody else is giving you the instructions and all that you need to accomplish your job, your goal. And so, with that in mind, being slaves to righteousness, and the fact that Paul says the same Holy Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is in you. You have the power to be victorious over your sin. Um, and so I guess that's a good summary of these chapters. But you need to go in and read for it yourself, because, man, this is one of those times, like I talked about before. Literally every paragraph that's in those chapters that I read this morning, I could spend hours just studying through to see the depth of what it means. So, anyways, that is a quick, brief overview that you are a slave to righteousness who's been empowered by the Holy Spirit um, to live a life of righteousness, and because of that, you have peace.